You're listening to the Behind Ears podcast, because everybody does Disney differently. The Behind Ears podcast crew would like to thank the following sponsors for their generous support. Hey everybody, it's Mr. Chris, and I gotta tell you about Expedition Roasters. Listen, I'm a pretty big coffee drinker, just like a lot of you are, but these people have got coffee right. Their coffees are made from selectively sourced premium and specialty grade Arabica beans. They provide the absolute best flavor and aroma, and select roasts even come directly from a single estate farm for a truly perfect cup that is never bitter. They've got awesome Disney-inspired flavors such as Roundhouse Roast, Route 66, Skipper's Brew, Dark Side Roast, Redhead Rum, and one of my favorites, Bob Slitter's Brew. Listen, if you want to have the taste of Disney in every cup, give them a try today. ExpeditionRoasters.com, and Behind the Ears podcast listeners gets an extra 20% off your first order by using the coupon code EARS20. That's right, EARS20. And you can find them over at ExpeditionRoasters.com. Brew your happy place. If you have a little one and you're going to Walt Disney World, you're going to need a stroller. I'll tell you what, KingdomStrollers.com is the place where you want to look into. I'll tell you, I've destroyed my fair share of strollers while at Walt Disney World, and those things are not cheap. But getting something from KingdomStrollers.com, they'll be able to help you pick out the perfect stroller for you. And the nice part is that because they're a Disney preferred provider, they'll be able to drop it off and pick it up right from your Disney resort at no extra charge. So if you don't want to necessarily destroy your stroller in the process and you want to have a great Disney vacation with your little one, contact KingdomStrollers.com and they'll set you right up. That's KingdomStrollers.com.
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another exciting and let's just call it another Tuesday edition of Behind the Ears podcast where something must go wrong. For all our live viewers, doing something a little different, not by choice, completely by no other option, but we can't display any comments tonight. So you can keep the comments coming. We have another way of viewing them, but we might not get to you tonight. Chris is pretty good at doing it later in the week, getting back to a lot of people. So hopefully we'll be able to get that going. But Chris, how are you?
I'm doing really well, and I before we go any further, I have two small sponsor comments.
Okay.
First off, I talked with our friends over at Expedition Roasters, and what they would like to offer our listeners, because right now if you use the code EARS20, you get 20% off your first order, and generally speaking, it does not work for subsequent orders. If I understood what our friends over at Expedition Roasters said, returning customers, anybody, can use the code EARS15 until the end of August to get 15% off your next order. So there you go. If you want to stock up, they've got some cool stuff going on. Also, I wanted to make this comment about Kingdom Strollers. When I was at Disney last, I saw a lot of people using Kingdom strollers. And knowing me that I can actually talk to pretty much darn near anybody, I've asked a few of them. I said, hey, I see that you rented your stroller from Kingdom Strollers. And they're like, oh yeah. And I'm like, so, and they're all in really good shape. They look great. And so I asked them, so how was your experience working with Expedition? That's why I saw that on my screen. How was your experience working with Kingdom Strollers? And every last one of them said, hey, I had a really good experience getting everything set up. Not a single problem was had. And all of them said that their strollers are of very high quality. They came really, really clean. And they were very happy with their stroller rental choice. So I'll tell you something, it's really cool to hear that kind of feedback, about our sponsors, because it just tells us that we've really partnered with some great people. So I'm just going to throw that out there. And, if you're still wondering about whether or not you should do business with these people, they support us and they provide you with a great product. That is enough with a little extra sponsor plug there. We don't normally do that, but I really wanted to mention that to our listeners tonight.
Bro, Bro,
What?
pet peeves, bro. That's what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking about those icky moments. Those, can you believe that jerk just did that? The please get out of my way moments. Those pet peeves, not only in Walt Disney World, we'll also throw into Disneyland. If you're a Disneyland goer, please let us know. This was a topic that Chris just kind of threw out as a questionnaire, or just hey. What?
I almost think it was a mistake.
It's just simple, like, hey, how's everybody doing? What are your pet peeves? Which has literally turned into the internet melting with. And you know what? Let me rephrase this. Because even though people were extremely angry at this topic because everybody had very spirited responses, everybody kept it civil. Even if they didn't agree or they didn't think it was that big of a deal, they're like, oh, yeah, okay, I can see why that bothers you. I respect that. So let's. What do you want to do here? We can go through what people said later. I would say,
yeah.
We can start doing what I'm going to give you the option. I'm going to pass that torch to you. What do you think was your biggest, your number one, the one thing that, that gets you?
Well, before we begin, I will say that, I was hoping that this was going to be a civil conversation over at the WDW community page, and I'm really glad it was. The thing of it is that, as I said, I really did not expect the kind of feedback from our listeners that I got. And before anybody goes and says, oh, Chris and Danny are being negative on Walt Disney World again, no, this is actually in response to those who are part of the community and those who listen to the show. And it was really, really interesting. What I would probably say one of my top peeves is just, I got two of them. I'm having a hard time spitting out which one. I really cannot stand people who kind of like squeeze their way in front of you in line very nonchalantly and then actually argue with people who cut in front of them in line.
Okay.
I know.
So are you referring to people just cutting line or people that reserve their spot while one person's standing there but their group of 27 were eating Casey's and wanted to go on the ride?
I think a lot of that. I mean, it's all the same.
It's all lumped together. Okay.
It's all clumped together. I'll give you a funny story though. And this is an absolute true story.
Chris has a story? No way.
Yeah. This was on June 30th. This was on opening day of Toy Story Land. And for those of you who saw me stream, you know that it rained, poured, slinky cats and dogs. And you like what I did that. And the interesting part to it is that, after a while, we finally started going, we decided we're going to go back to the hotel. So we go and we are in line at the bus. And we were waiting just a little bit for the bus because everybody was trying to get out of there. And we're standing there, and this family, now mind you, there's not much of a line, but there's a little bit of a line. And we're all trying to stay underneath the shelter. This family of about 4 people decide to go over the chain link, divider and get in front of us. And they actually squeezed themselves between us and another family. And whether or not they were in front of us or where they were previously, they were going to be under the shelter. And Casey kind of made a comment to me. He goes, do I find it slightly ironic that just a moment ago they were talking about how they didn't like people cutting in front of them, yet they went ahead and just cut in front of us? I said, yeah, I kind of noticed that. And I kind of noticed that. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. No big deal. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. Well, another family kind of like came in like from the rain and kind of just like got in front of everybody because they were trying to get out of the rain. And I'm like, hey, fine, no big deal, right? Well, the family that cut in front of us starts getting into a shouting match with them. And I'm not talking about just, hey, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking downright fists going up in the air, pointing, noise elevation way, way high. And after about 3 or 4 minutes of them bickering back and forth, and I was actually kind of concerned that there was going to be a fight breaking out, I finally I just kind of went, everybody chill out. And it was hilarious because it just all of a sudden it got silent. And they're like, well, they cut in front of us. I go, who cares? Who cares? We're all trying to get out of the rain. We're all trying to just, be a little bit more dry than we were. It's been a crap weather day, and all of us are tired. All of us are wet. Who cares? And they started going off. I said, listen, you cut in front of me. I didn't say anything. Now I think you ought to just stand there and chill out. And he started actually coming towards me. And the interesting part to it is Casey kind of stepped aside. And then he saw the size of me. And then decided to back down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, you know what? I'm not trying to start anything. I didn't use any profanity. I'm just like, everybody just needs to chill out. And it's just like, you know what? Just everybody needs to relax. Cutting in line, like you said, when you have a group of 23 people get in front of you because one person stood in line, that's one thing. When you're standing in a bus line, trying to stay dry, it's a whole different thing. It's kind of like everybody just needs to chill out and relax a little bit. So
okay.
That's my story. I wish I had it on video because it was actually a lot more fun to be a part of that. And I just turned around and people were just like, "Oh, dude, that was awesome." I'm like, "Yeah, thank you very much." So, what about you, man?
All right, so you're just cruising down Main Street, minding your own business. You're like, "Oh, look at the castle," and then, boom, you walk into the back of somebody because they decided it's a good spot to stop. And look at Starbucks. Honey, did you know that they have a Starbucks at Disney? Or, let's take a picture in front of the cat. Stop it. Move to the side, people. Like, do you just drive down the road when you're at home and just be like, look at that. I'm just going to stop in the middle of the highway doing 70.
Yeah.
No, you're going to get rear-ended. People, I'm a big man. I'm 270. 6'1", 270. I'm like a Mack truck. I've got air brakes. I need a few feet to stop my forward motion here. This is not a smart car, people. I don't just on a nose. So half the time I end up just trucking into people. I'm the last person you want to get hit by. It's that simple. There's a lot of other things that you don't mind getting hit by. I am not the person you want to get hit by. Just step to the side. I can't tell you how many times, and it happens because this is just my luck. I'm walking, someone stops, I jam into the back of them, and then the person with the stroller behind me jams their stroller into the back of my ankles.
Ooh.
And then I'm the one walking around the rest of the day. Like, no. Pull off this side. Use the shoulder. Use your blinkers. Merge.
Use your blinkers. I have to agree, though. I mean, the fact of the matter is that, I always told my kids, especially when they were younger, walk down Main Street like you're driving. It's like you stay to the right, and if you have to stop, pull over to the side and and even give a little fling of your neck backwards just to make sure that someone's not right behind you and they're going to run right into you. And maybe have their big cotton candy shake or purple wall drink or something like that fly into you. It's just a little bit of a courtesy, step against the curb and make sure that you don't instantaneously stop in front of somebody. Also, same thing if you're actually on the sidewalk, as you're walking down Main Street or any other area for that matter, pull over to the side, even put your back to the wall or something like that. So you're not taking up as much real estate. It's one of those things that just makes it easier for everybody else, especially if you have a family of 4. And if you teach your kids young on that type of driving around Disney, you will be the most courteous people around.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, do you have to stop and look at your map? You can't just walk. Like, can you not walk and chew bubblegum? Like, do you have a problem walking and breathing air? You know what I mean? Like, are these the same people that drive and stare at their phone and are just swerving back and forth? Like, just pull off. That's all I ask, because like Enrique said, if it's not someone in with a stroller, it's his 65-year-old mother-in-law slamming the back of you with her scooter.
Oh, well, let me tell you something a little bit about that, though. I'm not standing up for people who are sitting down on a scooter. See what I did there? But at the same time, I will say this. There are people that think it's okay to just jump in front of a scooter who's not a part of that traveling family and then stop directly in front of them as well, and not necessarily be conscientious of a person that is properly driving a scooter. My mom was in that situation. She was in a scooter and people kept on jumping in front of her, and she had to keep on stopping very, very quickly. You know, and if they got hit, whose fault is it? Well, you know, the fact of the matter is, don't cut in front of somebody, don't stop instantaneously, and don't blame the scooter driver for something that you've done. You know, but at the same time, we do know there are some kamikaze scooter drivers out there that like to go full throttle, that like to beep that horn. Gosh, oh, that horn.
That horn. Oh, I'm going to put little Johnny on my lap, and we're going to ride around Magic King. All day.
Oh.
We get it, kid. Blow the whistle twice. After that, you're done.
Oh my
gosh.
Done. It's not even twice, man. I mean, first off, you're not supposed to have a little kid on a scooter like that. You're just not supposed to. Cast members, I think are supposed to, you know, direct more appropriate behavior if necessary. But
listen, that doesn't bother me, because when I was, you know, and that's a topic for another podcast, not ours. I don't believe in this whole like, come on, that's a dumb rule. I understand safety. I get on it. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop. Those people, there was time we didn't put kids in car seats, okay? So
I was one of those kids.
Exactly.
I saw the kind of car seat my parents put me in, and I'm very glad I survived that type of life.
You know, things are just becoming a little too crazy now. You want to pick your kid up, put him on your lap, let Grandma Ida drive around Magic Kingdom. That's fine.
Yeah. Just
let's disconnect that horn. There's no need for that horn. Like, what is this? Like a runaway freight train? Like you have to honk to warn people that you're coming around like a blind turn. Like why there's a horn there is ridiculous. Why is there a headlight? Well, how much night driving are you people doing?
I think that's a really good point. I mean, it's kind of funny because some might say, oh, it's really dark in Animal Kingdom at night. Yeah, very true statement. But the thing is that it's not so dark. You're not going to be avoiding potholes.
Yeah, like
you know, it's not like, oh wait, I have to make sure I don't go over the speed bump. You know,
no, and you know what that light's for? So you can see the people's ankles in front of you that you're about to run over. You know what I mean? Like, and listen, not everybody's bad driver, and just like not all walkers in front of them are gonna be rude. You know, me and Nick actually helped a lady who didn't realize it was a curb there and fell right off of her scooter with the curb, and it was a nasty spill. You know,
I remember you saying, telling me about that. Yeah,
it happens. You know what I mean? And not everybody is bad. We're just picking out. Listen. I know I've seen a lot of comments. We want to maybe talk to Jess when she calms down a little bit about her previous trip. But tour groups, not every tour group is bad.
No,
it's not. And I know, and I'm not going to blast the one tour group that gets the worst
reputation.
But yeah, perfect. They have the worst reputation. But I've been in the park with them, and they were not a problem at all. So it seems like it could be like a smaller group inside a larger group. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like, not every scooter driver is bad. Not every person walking with a map is bad. And not every tour group is bad.
Right.
But we're talking about the bad ones here.
Yeah. Well, you know, the thing of it is that, you know, I read somewhere else, because that was a topic of conversation on other Disney groups as well, especially as it happens right now this time of year, especially July, August timeframe. And I think you're right. Not every group is rambunctious or notorious for, you know, being disruptive. They can be disruptive to lines at times, because all of a sudden, if you add 50 to 60 people in a line, you know, you're all of a sudden going to cause certain attractions to, you know, go up very, very quickly when it, you know, time-wise, queue-wise. You know, I ran into a group of teens at Cosmic Rays, and they were very well behaved, and just because we were standing in line, I said, you know, where you're from, and they actually spoke pretty okay English. I actually expected a lot less. I actually expected, no English type of thing back. And they said they were from Uruguay. I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. And they were all very, very polite. They were all very nice. They were very well behaved. And then we know that there were some that Jess ran into that basically just... I'm very proud of Jess. You know why? Because we didn't have to bail her out.
Yeah, I would have lost my marbles.
Yeah.
From some of the stories she told me, I would have lost my marbles.
Yeah. And also there are other groups, not just, there are other groups throughout the year that go, like different teen groups, like, there's cheerleading groups and football groups and other sport teams groups. And if I'm not mistaken, a lot of those organizations, a lot of those sponsoring organizations now actually require them to agree to basically, a behavioral type of, agreement. Things like a curfew and other things like that are very much enforced, not only by the groups that you're with, but by the actual sponsoring organization. That has really helped those particular groups gain a better reputation because, I'll admit about 10, 15 years ago or so, there were cheer squads that would decide it would be a great idea to do a pyramid in front of Country Bear Jamboree. But now you don't see anything like that, at least not from those particular groups. Hats off to them. So that's really cool.
All right, ready for this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Please, everybody, as the ride begins, this is a dark ride. Please do not use flash photography.
First thing, 10 seconds in to freaking Little Mermaid, and we have flashes going off everywhere. Ariel's now lit up. There's lights on. Someone's yelling. More than likely, probably me yelling at you, just crumpling up a map and throwing it at you. Come on. Logic. The dude tells you, or lady, the person, the cast member, will clearly tell you, please do not use flash photography. And you're going to be like, oh, I didn't mean to. Turn the flash off, homie. If you don't know how to turn your flash off, don't use it.
Learn your equipment. Here's an interesting part. Depending on what I'm using, whether it be my phone, my Sony camera, or my Canon, I always make sure that when I'm in standby mode and I'm not taking a picture, I always put the part that is producing the light against my chest so that I am not producing any light pollution towards those who, are trying to enjoy a dark ride. I've, found out when I first got my Canon, if I put my finger over a particular sensor by the eyepiece, it shuts off the screen automatically because what it's designed to do is as I put it up to my eye, it actually shuts off the screen so I could actually see clearly. So I just put my finger over that sensor and shuts off the screen automatically. So I do that if I take certain pictures. But yeah, you really got to be conscientious about it. I mean, it's just, if you don't know, ask someone who does. Turn that flash off. I'm also of the camp that learn how to take pictures without flash. That's just
if your kids in the room, have them cover their ears. Ready? Because when you use your flash, you're gonna see the guy holding the stick with the little stuffed animal on top of it. Okay, people, your camera's not going to capture what your eyes are seeing. They're going to capture what the big light produced, and it's poor Jim Bob in his black suit holding Flounder on a stick, people.
Yeah, I'll admit, I like what Jen's comment was here. She says, or what about the iPads during the fireworks make me mad because especially the people just walking around the parks taking pictures with it. I still don't understand how they don't drop and break them trying to do that. And I'm like, yeah, it's like, it's almost like, someone's like doing the Rafiki thing and Lion King. I'm going to hold my iPad up. It's just, I just don't understand it. It's like, if you're going to take a, $400 or $500 iPad, you can go ahead and spend, $150 on a nice small point and shoot camera that will do really, really well. And if you drop it or dump it into a puddle by accident, you're not out $400 or $500.
Yeah,
that's just my 2 cents.
It's just the people with how you can ruin somebody's fireworks spectacular by literally holding up a small TV. So they're like, oh, hey, by the way, here's my 34-inch TV. Just record it. Don't mind me, please. Like, you jackamos. Stop it. Just watch the fireworks.
Yeah, what about,
you want to record, but do it the right way.
Or worse yet, people who decide it's a great idea to talk through an attraction. Not just not like
I'm guilty of that though.
Well, yeah, you are. I am, but I'm not talking about tapping your kid, going, hey, look at that over there. Hey, hey, check that out, or something like that. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking, well, you're floating through Pirates, and you're like, well, should we go to Cosmic Rays or should we go to Columbia Harbor House for lunch after this? I don't know. What do you think? Well, we should probably go to Cosmic Rays because they pay Ray weekly and, very weekly and, blah, blah, blah. This, I think that'd be great. I'd love to get the super stretchy burger. Oh, I think that would be great too, but I like to go to Columbia Harbor House for the clam and chowder. Yeah, that's pretty good too. All in the middle of Pirates.
I'm not loud about it, but there's been plenty of times I'll lean over and be like, man, who couldn't go for some Casey's corn dog nuggets right now? Jeez.
Well, dude. Okay.
I'd be like, hey, that Grand Marnier slush the other day is starting to make its way back into that heartburn.
Yeah, but let's face it. The last time you and I had that conversation on Pirates of the Caribbean, we were stuck. We were stuck there for frickin' 45 minutes watching the pirate and everything else like that. Right after the redhead scene and everything else.
And me just turning back to Virginia's daughter, being like, my legs are numb. So I'm gonna turn this way to try to get some circulation. Hey, how you doing? The worst, I had to go potty so bad, and I'm like, no, just sitting on a water ride with like cannons exploding up the way, and I'm just stuck. Adding my own elements to the rides, people.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. What about? I saw someone else mention this in the community page, so I'm gonna go ahead and kind of bring it up. And it's one of mine. What is it about people who go into a counter service eatery and they're waiting in line for 15 minutes and then they get up to the register where they order and they're like, well, let me see. What do I want now?
What looks good, huh?
What looks good?
Bob, what did you say you wanted? There's no chicken nuggets, Bob.
Yeah, here. Hold on. Let me call my daughter. Yeah, that was a Diet Coke with lot of no ice. No ice. Okay, no ice. Yeah, she wants no ice, please. And
wait, hold on, Jenny. Okay, I'm at the front of the line. What? All right, let me read you the options here. We have a bacon cheese. No, you are not about to read the menu off to somebody when we've been in line for 45 minutes. Put your cheaters on. If anybody, little glasses, put your glasses on and call somebody. Get out of here.
No,
come on, do better.
Granted, okay, I realize that's okay. It's a little bit of a peeve. It's a little bit of picking on. I get it. Okay, I get it. But the thing is that you're usually waiting in line and they have those menus that you can pick up and you can hold and read them while you're waiting in line and stuff like that at most places. And it works out pretty well. I don't mind people asking questions like, hey, does this, can I get the sauce on the side or something like that? I'm not talking about those who are trying to
you're legitimately reading the entire menu.
You've read the menu and you just want to make sure whether or not you can get the garlic sauce on the side from the super stretchy burger, which by the way, my son loves the super stretchy burger. So
where's that? Is that Cosmic Rays?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And so, I don't mind things like that. I really don't. But it just makes it make it easier for everybody else. Also at the same time, now this is not more of a peeve. This is really a grind my gears. Pick up your mess.
Oh God, yeah.
When you're done eating, do everybody a favor. Wipe off your table really quick. It takes you 3 seconds with an extra napkin that you already picked up. Go ahead and wipe it down for the next guest. And maybe provide a little bit of magic. And if you see someone that's looking around for a table, wave them down. Say, hey, come on over here. I got a table right here for you.
I got a table for you. It's clean.
Yes, I even took care
All
of it.
right, so you got to do a little half grind my gears. I'm gonna give you another little half grind my gears.
All right.
Every time we do grind my gears, I always do this, and every time I do this, I always get railroad for it. I'm gonna continuously do it because that's just who I am. Gentlemen, if you are not handicapped, disabled, have a foreign leg disease, I don't know, knees not hurting, whatever. If you are an able-bodied man that has just walked more than likely 10 miles that day in Magic Kingdom, get your large behind up and let the young lady sit, the elderly lady, the children. For God's sakes, were you raised in a barn? And if you were, did you not let the horses sit down?
Can I get an amen?
What'd you say?
Can I get an amen?
Can get an amen? Just please, just serious. That drives me to my core. Now, listen, if you offer and someone says no, then that's on them. I'm not mad at that. You gave them the option if they chose to be shy, whatever the case is. Okay, cool. But at least give the offer. It's just common courtesy.
No, I completely agree, and that's what my kids, my family, and we do. Hey, if we're able to, great. We'll go ahead and do it. If they turn it down, great, not a problem. I don't really see a problem with it. I want to go ahead and throw. I wish I could throw this comment on the screen. I'll mention it. Lee actually mentions I hate it when parents take their kids on vacation and then decide to take a vacation from parenting those kids. Bad kids can ruin it for others. Lee, I know some people may flame you for a comment like that. Not this guy. The fact of the matter is that, when I did a lot of articles, I wrote a lot of articles for the Parenting in the Parks column over at mouseplanet.com. And one of the things that I used to always tell people is that you kind of need to, as a parent, practice before you go on vacation. And it's not only just for the kids' sake, teaching kids how to actually eat in restaurants, how to be polite, how to watch out for themselves, how to watch out for mom and dad and this, that, and the other. But it's also so that the parents can make sure that they can still parent while on vacation to keep their cool and still have a good vacationing type of experience. And I think that really makes a lot of sense. So I could appreciate that particular comment. Because, one of my peeves is seeing parents either do things with their kids, like very harsh discipline when they're in the middle of a meltdown, or they let the kids do whatever they want, and to the point where it's disruptive, or say, oh, haha, they're on vacation. They can, oh, so sorry. Not really. Or things like that. It's like you still need to be parents. And sometimes that means that you still have to discipline. Your discipline may take a different, form. You as a parent may have to sacrifice. I'm going to tell you a story. When I was a little kid, and during my first and only trip to Walt Disney World with my parents, all I remember is I did something, and I made my dad very, very upset. Okay? All I remember is that somewhere there is a picture of me in the Hall of Presidents with my family. I am standing next to my father, and in the picture, you can barely tell it, but in the picture, I'm sticking my tongue out.
Oh, man.
I made my dad really upset, and he and I sat and missed the Hall of Presidents.
Boy. Chris went bye-bye. Oh, there he is.
So.
Hold on.
I'm here.
Back. There's Mr. Chris is back.
Yeah, so there was just one of those cases where it's like, my dad pulled me aside. I'm like, Dad, I'm really sorry. And my dad was the kind of person that when he got really mad, he got really quiet. He was really quiet.
Those are the scary ones.
Yeah, I felt bad. I mean, everything became better. I kind of learned from it, but it's one of those cases you just can't stop being a parent. You just got to do it. So.
No, I mean, and I'm going to play the other side of the coin. Like, you want your kids to, they're on vacation too. You spent a lot of money. You want them to enjoy, relax. Yeah. And, I think there's a happy medium to both sides. there was a lot of times like we would be standing over by the rocks in Tomorrowland, safely from the water, and I would see kids climbing on them. So on one hand, you're like, well, what are you doing, man? Tell your kid to stop climbing on other people's furniture. On the other hand, you're like, let the kids be kids. They are on vacation. Like, they're not hurting anybody.
Sure.
And I think there's that very fine line where as long as your kids are not destroying property and just as long as your kids are in a safe area and they're not disturbing anybody else. Because people have this notion when they go on vacation, they spent all this money and they have blinders on. They want to have the perfect vacation because they spent $5,000. They can give a flying monkey's butt that everybody around them spent $5,000 to be on that vacation as well. It happens all the time, man. People constantly, they only look out for themselves. And I'm not saying, be worried about everybody else. Worry about you worry about you and your family. But take into a consideration that, your kids might be bothering someone. And listen, that person might be a crotchety old man. Anybody's going to bother him. But, keep your kids in line, but without keeping them on a tight leash. I know this is coming from someone who doesn't have kids. So take my opinion, and it's honestly worth nothing.
I actually think you're on the right track, and I'm gonna go ahead and steal Jessica's comment. You also have to know when your kids are done. Yeah. If you know that, you actually avoid a lot of meltdowns. And like John, when he was little, middle of the day, he got overstimulated with all the different things going on. We would actually leave the park for a little bit. Doesn't mean we'd go back to the room. A lot of times if we were at the Magic Kingdom, it's monorail ride time, man. It's, hey, let's go to the Contemporary, walk around over there, take a look at the resorts, do a little resort hopping, relax a little bit, get out of the usual, go get a snack, go get a Dole Whip, go do something else.
Now, I see Ashley made a comment.
What's that?
We're not talking about any child that has disabilities. And I understand sometimes you can't see them, and I get that. We're not talking about the kids at all. It was just about the parents. And I understand that we don't have autistic children. We don't have children with disabilities. So our view of it might be a little more skewed because, we didn't have to, bear down on that. That was not the intention to say, we're just talking about, we're giving you a scenario. We weren't talking about a specific situation. We were just giving you a scenario with a normal 7-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl that are literally picking up rocks and throwing them at pigeons. Like situations, like just fictitious situations, just so everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. And just know, and I'll make this comment. I mean, Danny and I have a deep respect for families, who have to, overcome some of those other extra items in order for their kids to enjoy a good vacation. And that's not what we're referring to. Generally speaking, if you see a parent that's kind of laughing at bad behavior, that's kind of the line that has already been crossed. That's kind of how you can tell. If a parent just doesn't care and you can tell it, like they're going to be more concerned about spilling their Grand Marnier than watching their kid flip over the fence over at Epcot. Yeah, it's one of those.
Hey, I want to say this. We're talking about kids. There are plenty of adults that don't know that line, and they cross that line. Sometimes, just because you're in Epcot, you can go tie one on, man. I am not here to be the higher of high and be like, no, you could not do that. You want to go tie a knot on? That's on you. I've been there. I've fallen asleep on my fair share of benches inside Epcot.
Hobo camping.
With that said, I don't scale the wall in Mexico. Do you see the lines here, people? There's drunk, and then there's okay. You now need us to put a sign on a building because of you.
Yeah, you have to. It's like, did you have to put the sign there? Yes, we had to put the sign there. Yes, it's just like someone realized they had to put on a jar of peanuts. Warning: contains peanuts. There you go. But
caution: coffee is hot. You wouldn't guess it.
The interesting part, though, Danny, did you mention? In the community, there were actually a few people that made the comment about inebriation at the parks. And, I realize that's a big thing, especially like during Food and Wine Fest. I get it. And I realize that there are people that tend to, as Jimmy put it, tie one on. And
that's really good. Tie it on, but act like you've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's just like it's just one of those cases where, what's the best way of putting it? I think it's better if you're there with some friends, you can hold each other a little bit of accountable. When you start acting really stupid, you need to stop. There are some people
and there's that line from stupid to really stupid.
Well, yeah. I mean, the fact of the matter is that, yeah, sure. There are some people that will drink a lot, and they will get a little bit louder, a little bit funnier, a little bit, a little bit more animated and this, that, and the other. And then there's I think I had one too many tequilas. And,
yeah, I mean,
corn dogs.
Me and Nick are big guys. We drank a good amount the one night, and actually there was like 5 of us that drank probably too much that night. And we were just playing with our fidget spinners. We were being loud, obviously. We were being obnoxious. I mean, I get it, but at no point did I ever want to those little things where you hold and you spin.
No, I know
hand.
what fidget spinners are. I just don't understand, why would you be playing with a fidget spinner?
When you're stuck going on rides that you don't really want to go on in Disney and you're waiting 45 minutes, those things keep me entertained. Because then what we do is you try to balance them on your nose. I'm a child, okay? I'm a child in a man's body. Keep me entertained. Anyway, at no point would we get loud and everything, but we never asked to drive the monorail. You know what I mean? Like, there's that line of, hey, look at these stupid guys running around being dumb. And then there's the stupid, like, I could drive this thing right now.
Hey, watch this. Here, hold my drink. Watch this. But I mean, although I really can't say anything. I am the kind of person that, listen, I split a Grand Marnier with like Casey and Burge, and you start drinking it while you're in France. You start walking over the bridge to the UK. By the time I'm at the bridge, or on the other side of the bridge to the UK, I'm already feeling it because I don't drink. So yeah. I just one of those. It's one of those things. But I'll be honest. There are a lot of different things that I think all fall under the guise of bad behavior. And it's not just, different things. It's like, there are times where you can have fun with other guests, and sometimes they may misconstrue it as being rude or something. And, that happens. That's a mistake, but just being flat out rude, or I asked for examples of entitlement, because a lot of people just said entitled guests was a pet peeve of theirs. And so I kind of stopped and I said, what do you consider entitlement? And I found it kind of interesting that, people were saying that they overheard guests that check in to demand free upgrades and this, that, and the other because they're celebrating a particular event or this, that, and the other. And, pulling all the different comments about, I spent a lot of money, I've done this, I'm a DVC member, or I'm an annual pass holder, or something like that. I've been to Disney thousands of times and this, that, and the other.
Oh, I've been hearing that a lot lately.
And it's just like, I don't really get it. I don't, I don't expect magic, so to speak. Okay. I expect a great vacation, and I get it every single time. And it's one of those cases where if for some reason there's a cast member that decides to show a little magic to us or sprinkle a little pixie dust on it, I will graciously accept. I will be very happy about it, and I'll walk away with a smile. But to start throwing out the idea that you're one of Disney's best guests, so to speak, but yet you're demanding that you get something for free, and let alone like things like, I'll be honest with you, room upgrades are really rare these days.
Yeah.
And you know what the problem of it is? Social media has made it worse. Because they post something, they'll post something in a Disney group. Hey, we got upgraded from, parking lot view to concierge view.
Yeah.
And you're like, and then you have people like, well, I never get that. Why don't I ever get that? That's not fair. Well, that's nice for you, but this, and people just get bitter.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well,
why can't you just be happy for somebody?
Just put their pinky up. Oh, mousekeeping did not give me my towel giraffe today. I am a DVC member and I require towel monkeys every day. Like, I get it, bro. Every time I'm in the park, I have to hear about your DVC. I get it. Awesome for you. Fantastic. You are not the president. You are not special. There are thousands of you. And now I can rent your points.
See, I don't, as a DVC member, I actually expect less of those kinds of things in my room. We get mousekeeping less often just because of how DVC works. I don't expect to arrive in my room with something super special. I don't expect, some kind of a gift basket just because, I've been a DVC member for more than 10 years or that, something or another. Like I'm celebrating. Okay. I celebrated my anniversary, my 20th wedding anniversary last year. I put it in the notes and everything else like that. No, I didn't get anything. And you know what? I was fine with it. I got a beautiful room. I loved it. I had a great time. And that's all I really was expecting. So it's just one of those cases, if you expect magic, if you force magic, then it's not magic.
Yeah.
If people arrange it for you ahead of time, it's not really magic because you already know what's going to happen. Magic is something that's poof, it's there. It's just one of those things. That's just my thought process on that. So,
yeah.
Jimmy actually throws this in. I'll throw it. Hey, Jimmy, what's going on, brother? Last year and this year alone, he's done 9 trips, never upgraded. He doesn't expect it, but he's always hoping. And you know what? I think that's a great attitude.
Last year I was in the park 52 days.
Yeah.
And probably 30 plus I was on property.
Yeah.
Nope. Same crappy room I booked. I got. I shouldn't say crappy, but what I booked online was what I got. I've heard stories of people like I've literally been there on my actual birthday. Literally, I spent my 27th birthday in Disney, I think. One of my previous birthdays was literally spent in the park by myself, might I add. I didn't get nothing for free. And you know what? I didn't care. I was in Disney on my birthday. Ooh, take that, DVC members. Were you there on your birthday?
I will say one time I was there for my birthday. And I had my birthday button on, and I was telling Kathy, I'd like to get a Mickey Premium ice cream bar. She goes, okay, let's go get a Mickey Premium ice cream bar. So I walked over to the, kiosk, and I said, I'd like one Mickey ice cream bar, please. Sure. Then she kind of looked, she goes, I was getting ready to pay, and she goes, is today your birthday? I said, yes, it is. She goes, is it really your birthday? I go, actually, it really is my birthday today. She goes, well, Mickey would like for you to have this in the house. I said, well, that's fabulous. It was great. That was wonderful. It's things like that. That was a little bit of magic. And so I've said this before. I'll say it again. If you expect it to happen it's not really magic.
And you're going to be bitter when it doesn't.
Yeah.
You're not bitter about something that you never thought about.
What's
I'm not bitter that I don't have a red Lamborghini in my driveway.
Why would you want a red Lamborghini in your driveway?
Why?
Yeah, you would not look good driving a red Lamborghini.
I don't know. My hair flow. I mean, look at that flow tonight.
Oh, now we're going to go with the hair jokes.
So you can't even hold on. You guys, we're gonna make me bigger for a second. I don't know if you guys can tell. Look at that fluff. The fluff is something real. Growing it out. I want my Santa Claus beard.
Goodness gracious! You know what? I think we probably got time for one or two more pet peeves, and I think we'll go ahead and call it. And keep in mind, these are all inspired by those that are part of the WDW community page. These are not excuse me, these are not just, Danny and Chris providing peeves. So it's just one of those things. So I'm going to bring up the one that I know brings up flames, weeping and gnashing of teeth, and the whole shot. I am not a fan of parents who put their kids on their shoulders.
I knew this was coming.
I'm sorry. I've been burned by that before. And I just think that it's not only dangerous, but I think it's, everybody's standing there and this, that, and the other. All of a sudden, you're going to put your kid on top of your shoulders. Now, I can't see. My kid can't see, even if I kind of scoot one way to another. This is not fair. Put them on your hip. Put them on your side. If they are at eye level, they see what you see, and in 9 times out of 10, that's going to be just fine. That's just my 2 cents.
And listen, and this is something that me and Chris fundamentally disagree on. And I know I'm in the minority when it comes to people talking out about it. People doing it, I'm in the majority. But when it comes to the outrage and the outpour and the outcry, I am 110% in the minority when I say, I think if it's done right, I don't mind it. I mean, listen, have you held a 50, 60-pound kid for an entire fireworks show?
Yes, I have.
It hurts.
It
hurts.
It is
switching. And at that point, you're not even enjoying it. You're just, okay. Oh, some relief for my right arm. Oh, so can I put you down? Then you put them down. They start freaking out and crying. I've been there. I've got nieces and nephews. I've been there. I don't need my kids of my own to tell you I've been there. And I get what a nuisance it is.
I get it.
When you have a 6'1" guy like me who's broad already, and then I throw a 3-foot tall person on my shoulders, and they're waving their arms with their glowy headbands, their balloon. So now I got like a 13-foot monster standing in front of you. Yeah, that's terrible. But I guess not everybody is like me. I try to make sure people aren't behind me. You know what I mean? I do my best. I guess eventually I block somebody.
Okay, at least, I will tell you this. That statement right there, I think it redeems you a bit. You try at least to not block people right behind you. And for that, that's where the difference comes into play. Okay? And, you at least try to see if there's anybody behind you. But, I'll never forget the time where I let this family have their little kids stand in front of Virginia and John during one of the late night parades for the Halloween party. And then we were going to turn around and we were standing right in front of the castle so we could see the castle show. And, we were talking with these people. We thought everything was great. And all of a sudden, as soon as that show started, boop, those kids went up on the shoulders. I'm like, really? I'm like, after we let your kids stand in front of my kids so they can have an unobstructed view of the parade, you're going to do this.
Okay. So I've got a real one, and Jimmy actually hit on it. But before I get to the real one, I got to throw some love out to Belinda because she remembered it. People, when your kids are standing online for Winnie the Pooh, please, for the love of Almighty, do not let them lick the honey wall. It is disgusting. Listen, we all think about it. I'm always like, man, that'd be awesome if that wall was made out of honey right now, but I don't lick it. These kids are straight up licking a wall. And the worst part is when you wrap it to the queue, you see one group of kids lick it, then there's like a bunch of adults, then a new set of group of kids come up, and then they lick right where those other kids just got done licking. Look at this.
Oh, dude! Will you please stop talking about this one because I'm going to gag. I'm going to gag. I know we've talked about this one before, and the funny part about it is I when Casey was with us during our trip, we were kind of telling him a little bit about some of these stories, and we told him about licking the honey screen, and he just had this look in his face like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. because we saw this little girl. I think we were standing, I want to say it was over by Teacups, and this little girl in front of us just full on licked the railing. I'm talking like it was a gigantic ice cream cone. Blah, you know, I mean, we're just, and I think I can't remember if it was Virginia or Casey that first looked at me with this look of horror in her eyes. Like, did you just see that? Now, not only am I like, okay, so I hope the kid doesn't get like Ebola or something like that from that sort of thing, but I'm hoping that, you know, anybody who now, you know, drags their hand across that railing is going to get this kid's saliva all over their hands. Oh, goodness gracious.
Stan says, don't knock licking the honey wall till you try it. Oh, man. Okay. So this is my last one. And I might get a little slack for this one. I honestly might. Parents who put their kids on leashes. Listen, if that's how you want to control them, that's on you. But when little Johnny decides he's hyped up on 6, Mountain Dews and a couple Mickey bars, and he wants to go, Johnny Rocket around my legs and wrap the cord around me, me and you are going to have a little talk about how we're getting Johnny unwrapped here because I got to continue walking. If you want to put your kid on a leash, I am not a fan of that. You're not walking a dog, but that's your own parental opinion. Just be mindful. Like, if it gives you 8 feet of rope, while you're in Disney, don't use 8 feet of rope. Maybe tone that down to like 1.5 feet, 2 feet. Just saying.
There was an episode. I'm sure it was I know it was an older episode of Modern Family where they went to Disneyland, and one of them had their kid on a harness. I'm not going to call it a leash, but a harness. And it was absolutely hilarious. Not because of just the fact that they're putting her on a leash, but the fact is that, they were arguing whether or not she should be or should not be on a harness type of thing. And as a parent, again, it's one of those cases where, you try to make sure that your kid is in a safe environment. You do have to know your own kid. And you have to make some decisions on whether or not there is, a safety risk for your kid to dart away if you just, glance the other direction for a split second. Because we really do try to train our kids, right, to not do that sort of thing. But there is so much to see and do around the parks that it's very easily for a child to be distracted. So I can understand why it would be, I can understand why that would be, a concern. And I don't judge. I think if you have to do it, you have to do it. Every parent knows their child best. And that's all I got to say about that.
All right, man. I'm going to say, take us away here.
I think I will take us away there. Yeah. You heard the show, and we hope you want more. Well, feel free to join us over at our social media platforms. Instagram and our Facebook page can be found at Behind the Ears Podcast. Our webpage is behindtheearspodcast.net, and our email is behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @BehindTheEarsPC. And come and join the conversation about all things Disney over at the WDW community page. Don't forget to rate and review the show over at iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as it really helps us get the word out about the show. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or the Podbean app. Also, you can listen to us on Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and via Alexa and Google Home.
And with that being said, thank you everybody for joining us here on another live recording of Behind the Ears Podcast. We do invite you to stick around for the end, but we will say our goodbyes. I was Uncle Danny. I was Uncle Danny? Oh, no.
You still are, dude.
I still am. I'm still here. Knock on wood. Everything's good. I am Uncle Danny. It was an absolute pleasure having everybody on board the crazy rocket ship. So with that being said, tuck your kids in tight, wear your seatbelts, maybe tighten up that leash a little bit. I am Uncle Danny. Until next week.
And I'm Mr. Chris. Hey, listen, this is a listener-inspired show, and we are really glad that, our listeners chipped in a little bit to inspire us what we're going to talk about. We had a great showing tonight, and thank you all for being here. Hey, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. If you think that this is a great show because of all the different listener interaction, then we ask that you continue to provide us great feedback when we throw out these different questions out on the WDW community page, because it's that kind of interaction that helps us give you the best show possible. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit of a controversial question. Sometimes it's going to, we're going to ask you to give us your best day at Disney description, or whatever it might be. Thank you so much for being a part of that. We hope to get that same type of interaction from you in the future. But until we meet again, we hope that you have an absolutely magical and fantastic day. Take care.